This episode of Jackie's Groove is brought to you by Jambox. Jambox is a hands-free, breath-powered MIDI instrument that brings the joy of music creation to all ages and all abilities. Visit jambox.com, JAMBOXX.com.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Everybody, welcome to Jackie's Groove. This is Jackie Bertoni, brought to you by Intertalk Media, connect all things music. Hey guys, it is Wednesday, April the 18th, and a lot of the lines of Howard Stern and David Letterman and Jimmy Fallon and so on, they have their favorite guests they bring back on a regular basis. This gentleman I'm bringing back on today has been a friend of mine for over 30 years, and he's always a great interview, but we're going to go a different avenue and a different trajectory. We have to answer some questions because the fans worldwide want to know, and we want to dispose all the myths. And then we want to get back on to the life and times of my in-studio guest, Walfredo Reyes Jr. So with that said, I want everybody to welcome with open arms and open ears to Jackie's Groove, my bro, my hermano, Walfredo Reyes Jr. Wally, welcome, brother boy.
Thank you, Jackie. I'm so happy to be here.
Hey man, and
Thank
everybody,
Wally
is actually... Yeah, Wally's actually sitting in the car outside of a dealership. He just bought a new car, so we're gonna. That shows the man's got tenacity. Wally, we talked last night for about 40 minutes, and we talked about all of the questions. How I got bombarded because all close as I am with you and Tris when Tris left Chicago after 29 years, and then there was all this different speculation and so on and so forth. Will you help the fans worldwide and let everybody know that you and Tris are brothers to the very end, and share with us on the real truth of what's happening, why they wanted to spend time at home with their better halves?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Tris and I are drum brothers before Chicago, during Chicago, after Chicago, and we will always be. In fact, I'm playing tomorrow at a club here in L.A., Bogies, with my daughter, and he's going to be there with some friends. And Danny Serafin also lives around there, and I think he right now is in Japan. Otherwise, he would be there too. So I see Danny at that club. Drummers, we have a brotherhood, and percussionists, of course. I mean, drummers, anybody that bangs a drum, But with the same thing happened with Santana. Before I joined Santana, I spoke to all the drummers before Santana, and after I was with Santana, I have known and I am friends with Rodney Holmes, Dennis Chambers, I mean, you name it. Every drummer after me was Santana. So it's just that brotherhood that I don't know if it happens with other instruments, but with drums, we know what it takes, and we have a big compassion and appreciation for each other.
Wally, answer a question for the listeners out there. How is the vibe with Chicago? Because we talked about last night, Robert Lamb and Jimmy Pankow and Lee Loughnane, they could leave Chicago. Chicago will go on well after our years on this earth. Is there a vibe? Was there a vibe change when the shift happened back in January?
Well, by vibe, first of all, we have to go and make it work. And of course, the musicianship is high. So I went in and we had a Vegas engagement in February, and it was going to be new singer, new bass player, new drummer, which was me, new percussionist, which was my brother, but my brother is with Zach Browne band. So he was off in that period. So he went and did Chicago in February at the Venetian.
Right.
And so, everything was new. And on top of that, a new sound man, because our other sound man went to Luis Miguel. So we brought in a new sound man. So it was almost like, well, a lot to adjust. But we did it. And Chicago is not a band that rehearses a lot. So we did it in a period of a week. And during the NAMM show in January. So everybody, the main thing about this situation, not only with Chicago, but with bands that have a heavy book, for example, Santana, Steve Winwood, off the top of my head, are bands that have been around since the 1960s. So when you arrive at a place with a band like that, your homework is 50 years of music and different ways of doing songs and all that. So you have to tackle the present. What is it that we're going to rehearse now? But me personally, I always do research. Okay, what was the original song? I go back. So in this case, I had a lot of homework to do because I know how Tris was playing the songs.
Sure.
And I had to take over that chair. But me, I go back and I listen to the original, Danny Serafin, how he played the songs, and different arrangements of Tours lives over the years and different versions of the songs. And then the bottom line is you're working for Chicago 2018, and it's what they want now. A lot of fans sometimes says, well, he did this and Danny did it this way and Tris did it. Well, I got to do what Robert and Jimmy and Lee and our manager, Peter Chiavarelli, once done at that moment, which was that week. So we did it. We went through the Chicago 2, which we're doing in this tour, all the tunes, and then we did the hits. And the adjustment happened. We did Vegas. It was great, and then we just came from a tour, a bus tour, meaning that we're traveling all over the place.
Right.
And the band got really tighter, and it will get tighter as any other band happens. You got to give it a little bit of a chance. And the more we play with each other, it just gets tighter and tighter. We get to know each other musically, and we're having fun out there. We really are. And it's just a lot of great things coming.
Hey, Wally, on a comfort level of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, where are you right now on the drum throne?
As far as me being the best from 1 to 10?
Yeah, comfort level.
Oh, yeah, I'm very comfortable. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm very comfortable. And I'll tell you, the other day I posted something on Instagram. It really surprising to me because if this was happening 20 years ago, I would have been nervous.
Of course.
Really. And this sounds like really conceited, sounds really cocky. But at 62 is almost like, I know what has to be done. I know what I can do. I know what I cannot do. And, I do my best, and I'm very comfortable and very sure. And if I make a mistake, I make it big and make sure I don't do it again. But many years ago, this would have been a nervous wreck situation. And right now, I was surprised. First of all, the fan base of Chicago was so positive and so supporting that I really have to mention that. Yeah, very, very supportive. And there's always haters in everything you do. You look at the internet. But, I was surprised that I didn't get almost nothing as far as like bashing and hating and people that are disgruntled because it's not 1972 and, that kind of thing.
But
it's been really positive.
I think if it wasn't you that took over the drum throne, whoever would have filled those shoes of Tris, if they could have, would have taken a rash of shit from everybody. I think the respect that you spent 6 years on the percussion chair, which, Wally, as close as I am with you, and I love you like my brother, but I've always considered you a drummer more than a percussionist. I mean, even though you're considered a one-man percussion show, I've always considered you a drummer because I've always played with you as a drummer, not as a percussionist. And so does it feel good to be, and again, too, paint the picture for us. Does it feel good to be home on the drums versus standing up on percussion, or does it matter to you?
No, I'll tell you one thing, and I'm glad I'm saying this on the radio. In 2017, I made a move back to Las Vegas for financial reasons, to actually, have more house for my money and pay no state tax. And basically I'm saying, I'm going to try to change my financial situation. And I was ready. And this had to do a lot with Peter Schiaparelli. And we were talking about financials. Yeah. And he said, basically, man, that's why a lot of the guys from Chicago have moved to Tennessee and, different tax situations. Right. And I wanted to start a corporation. And so I was going to do that with the way it was. So I saw myself playing percussion with Chicago. When I'm not with Chicago, I play percussion and drums. I have my own little band on the side. I do session work on drums and percussion. So basically, I've done that all my life. Drums, percussion, drums with Lindsey Buckingham, both at the same time, on and on and on. And I was ready for the long haul until Chicago was done. So I was moving to Vegas. I bought a house in 2017. I was getting ready to do a lot of work in December. And basically see myself playing percussion, and Tris and I, we're going to do a lot of clinics together. We might even hopefully still plan to do something together, recording together. And so when this incident happened, it was very unexpected. And I was never like honing in, like, oh, I'm going to play. No, it was not that. So I was ready for the long haul. When this happened, it was very quick. And when I was asked, Wally, how long can you learn the show? And it's basically, like I said, it's one road, because it's the show that I was doing. But instead of driving this car, now I'm going to drive another car, which is more shifts, more responsibility. And so it was not something that I took lightly. Oh, yeah, like tomorrow I'm sitting in at the drum. No. So basically I took it very seriously, and Tris and I spoke. I said, Tris, you're not leaving like now, are you? Because I need some time to learn this. And it's a huge, and this is my opinion, this is how I feel, to take on Danny Seraphin's book that he wrote with all those drumming licks and all those grooves and all that, and then having Tris, which I've been a fan since Kenny Loggins, This Is It, I mean, so many songs.
Sure.
I was a fan, and I still am, of Tris, but I'm talking about before joining Chicago here is a drummer that I loved. To take over him and his shoes and the work that he has put with Chicago for the last 28 years, this is not something, and I told Tris this, I remember, I don't care if it is any named drummer, the baddest cat in the land, Steve Gadd, whoever, they're going to have to shed.
Of course.
They're going to have to definitely shed. So this is what I did. So basically once I said, okay, this is for sure. Okay, I'm going to take it on. I shed it. I mean, I'm actually had to spend hours in the studio and go song by song. And there's a lot of songs, and listen to the original, listen to what Tris did. And from the percussion chair, you hear the songs differently. Now I'm on the drum chair, and I said, wow, I didn't even notice that Tris did that. And what did he do over here? Because I was not paying attention, because I was playing percussion. So it's really interesting to me, so much learning. And as a drummer and a great friend, I have a big appreciation now, even more than ever, of Danny and Tris, because, I'm actually on the driver's seat that they used to be. And the appreciation and the admiration is even twice as big. Before, I had admiration for Danny and Tris, and I love both. I still love them. I still am a fan. I still listen to the records. Now I actually have more admiration. I mean, really, it's
man,
from my heart.
And I want to say, Wally, too, the whole thing about Chicago. You're playing it for, yourself. A lot of fans want to know, being a Latin drummer as you are. I kept saying to everybody out there that doesn't know you but know me, and I've explained to him too that Wally is a chameleon. Any great musician is not going to be pigeonholed or locked into what people think just because the last name is Reyes, that you're going to bring a whole Latin groove to Chicago. You're bringing your sound to Chicago, but you are playing the Chicago drums. You're not playing montonos or any kind of a Latin feel to that at all. But with that said,
well, it would be very ignorant to say that Carlos Vega, just because he was Cuban, and he, by the way, he played Inspiration, the hit of Chicago, Inspiration. That's Carlos Vega. He played, and Tico Torres is the drummer from Bon Jovi. These guys are Cuban, both of them, like I am. So the name Steve Gadd is Italian. He doesn't play tarantellas. So
exactly.
And if he does, But his work speaks for itself. So my first tune on the drum set was Honky Tonk Woman. It was not Tito Puente Oye Como Va. So when I became a musician, it was not about Latin, jazz, rock, metal, whatever. I wanted to be a chef and conquer cuisine. And music is a big word. So anything that has the word music, I'm going for it, whether it's classical music. And maybe that's why I lasted, with Steve Winwood and Santana and now with Chicago, because these guys have a situation like Chicago is Latin, it's classical, it's blues, it's rock, it's rhythm and blues, it's soul music. They mix it all together and they love talking. And when you are with Robert Lamb and before the show and we're listening to all this stuff, it's from swing to new Latin arrangements of a rock hit to this. I mean, bring it all, man. I'm not going to be classified and pigeonholed. Music is a huge word, and I'm a musician, and I'm still learning and conquering. If there's a dish that I cannot cook, bring it on, because I need to take lessons. I want to learn how to do it.
Perfect. And, and for all the Chicago fans out there, for all the Walfredo Reyes Jr. fans out there, there's your answer. There is camaraderie. Chicago lives on. Chicago will continue to live on. And that's, that's going to, it's always going to be a main place. And for those who know the name Reyes, I have been fortunate, Jackie's Groove and Intertalk Media have been fortunate. We have interviewed the clan, except for Kumar and all of his ways of amazing actors. But I had the benefit of interviewing Walfredo Reyes Sr., and then Danny, and then Wally, and Wally's beautiful daughter, Liliana. And in fact, if everybody can go back on to jackiesgroove.com and scroll down, you'll see my great interview with Liliana. We talked about family. So I just kind of want to throw that back and say, Wally, thank you for making the listeners out there understand what's happening. And I said it on the phone last night to you, I'm not turning this into a Chicago hour. So now that we qualified that, we crossed the T's and we dotted the I's, let's move on to Walfredo Reyes Jr. Let's talk about, you mentioned the fact that you moved to Vegas and for financial reasons and so on. But now that you're in there, what is that bringing to you, being back in a town that you came from Cuba originally with your dad and your mom years ago? How does that feel to be back? And even though it's a different town altogether, do you feel that your roots are still there?
Well, the reason I actually moved back to Vegas was not necessarily to work in the Strip like I used to do in the 70s. We moved from Cuba to Puerto Rico, and when I was 13, I moved to Las Vegas. My dad was at the Thunderbird playing drums, and then the Desert Inn house band drummer. So I grew up playing, and then by the time I was in college with Lola Polana, Paul Anka, Ben Vereen, then I moved to LA in 1980. I moved to Vegas. It's 4 hours from Los Angeles. I mean, I drive back and forth. I'm still very active in Los Angeles. Like right now, I'm in Los Angeles, and tomorrow I'm playing at Bogey's and Westlake Village Inn with David Garfield, Freddie Washington, Eric Marienthal, Liliana singing. So I'm very active in Los Angeles. Then I go on the road with Chicago, and then I come back to Vegas. But there is no news that in Vegas I can have a beautiful home,
Sure.
3-car garage. One of them will be my studio, and I can actually have drive back and forth from LA and still financially save a little more money than Los Angeles right now, because the way, California, I'm not going to get into none of that, but, it's in the news every day. San Francisco right now has one of the biggest exodus in the United States of people leaving a city. So, you can actually Google that, and that's the answer. So right now I have a beautiful house in Las Vegas. I go on the road. The airport is not that far. I come back to Vegas. I drive to LA, or I stay in Vegas. I have a beautiful girlfriend in Cincinnati that I visit back and forth, and she comes to Vegas. I go to Cincinnati. Who knows? Maybe one day I'll live in Cincinnati and rent a house in Vegas. That's for the future. But right now, I am in Vegas.
That's perfect. That's perfect, man, because the fact of the matter is, I know everything there is to know about you. I mean, family-wise and so on and so forth. And I'm not bragging. That just happens when you're brothers for all these years. But I want to ask you this question, and I want you to share with the listeners worldwide. Was there an album that you grew up with, music? Let's stay with the album that you listened to growing up, that you made the shift from, I like to listen to music like this, to, and shifted all the way over to, I want to create music like this. Was there an album in your childhood that moved you that way?
Well, you're going to be freaking out when I tell you. And this is a perfect example of, I'm actually getting the chills right now, because it wasn't until, the 1990s and 2000 that I remember Dr. Wayne Dyer, The Power of Attraction and all that. And I wasn't really into that. And then I actually go back. But my first record that I bought, because I wanted to buy it and I needed to buy it, I had listened to a lot of music, and I had 45s, listened to the Grassroots and the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and all this different music on the radio, Elvis, Sly and the Family Stone. But I mowed lawns for my family and neighbors. $10 they would pay me to mow the whole lawn at very hot weather in Puerto Rico. And I bought CTA with my own money.
And then
Chicago Transit Authority.
Thank you.
And then it was Chicago 2 that I'm playing right now. And I actually remember the poster that came with that record. That was all the guys sitting on a chair. And then I actually would look at that record and visualize, not necessarily playing drums, which is the weird thing. It was not that I wanted to be a drummer, but drums were just in the house. So it was the vehicle for me to be in a band and play music. So my whole thing was always to play music, whether it was guitar, bass, drums, percussion, whatever. Just give me a vehicle to play drums or guitar, whatever. But the thing is, I visualized Chicago, then Disraeli Gears. I loved that album. And then Abraxas. And weirdly enough, that was 1969, 70, 71. We moved to Las Vegas. I had no idea much further into the future that I was going to play with Santana, with Chicago, with Steve Winwood. You know what I'm saying? So it's almost like if somebody asked me, your dream came true? Yeah. Yes. The dream came true. Several. Yeah. It's amazing.
And like I said before many times also, it's not just the ability to be with those aforementioned groups and currently with Chicago. It's what's going to keep you there. And what's going to keep you there is your heart, what you bring to the gig. And one thing I've known about you over the years, brother, you've never had an ego problem. That's never been you. That's never been anything associated with you. But at the same time, too, do you find being a sweet person like Walfredo Reyes Jr. is actually a crutch? Has the industry used your sweetness against you?
No, I don't think so. I think I rather you got to be humble, grateful, and I can tell you one thing. That whole thing when people call me, hey, master, maestro, man, that's a heavy title. I'm still a student. I love being a student because I do not rest on my laurels. I mean, never. So sometimes that can be a problem because I can't take a week vacation and just sit on a beach and say, well, I'm taking a vacation or relaxing. I need to learn and I need to get going and I need to keep up with myself the way it was. Like if I can play a show and then all of a sudden, even with Chicago, and the next day we have a couple of days off and I go back and play the Chicago show and I'm breathing hard, brother, the next day I'm going to be in the gym and in my room practicing because I got to compete with myself first. And compete might not be the right word, but I got to keep up with me. And you get older. We all get older. And some people say, well, you used to do that with Santana, this and that. Well, maybe, you might not be able to do certain things you used to because you're not there. But if I had to do it, I will shed whatever has to be done to actually do it. So that means if I'm sweet, humble, whatever, I have more knowledge, and sometimes I speak my mouth. I say what I need to say, hopefully not hurting anybody. But sometimes, that song of Chicago is called Dialogue. Of course. Well, that's very important because I think that aside from the music, communication on stage, musically, off the stage, communication needs to happen in the best way possible. And I think that's what's lacking in the world today. Communication, compassion, consideration. So that's something that aside from the music, but lately I've been really putting it's all in one because if you're playing drums, like the other day, my daughter came to me and says, Dad,
I'm going to interrupt you real quick. I'm going to interrupt you because we're trailing out of the first half hour. I want to continue on with the family and so on. And what's the world is lacking and what we can do as individuals and entertainers to bring that to light. So when we come back on the second break and the last 30 minutes of Jackie's Groove with Walfredo Reyes Jr., we're going to pick it up. So guys, Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Media, connect all things music. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Much more in the next 30 minutes. Stay tuned.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Intertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on InterTalkRadio.com.
Hey, this is Brian Culbertson, and you're listening to my dude, Jackie Bertoni, on Jackie's Groove.
Welcome to Jackie's Groove. Come journey with us through the rhythm of the music business with your host, Jackie Bertoni.
Guys, welcome back to the second hour, a half hour, I should say, of Jackie's Groove. Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Intertalk Media. Connect all things music. You know, I'm proud to have my brother on the show today, Walfredo Reyes Jr. I want to talk about one thing. The two songs that we played, "Nothing Can Come Between Us," a great cover tune of Sade, and then "Me and Baby Brother" on the top of the show is from Wally's Jammin' at the Baked Potato, one of the greatest venues that's still going strong in Los Angeles off on Cahuenga. And you definitely want to check out everything that's got to do with Wally, Walfredo, I'll call him Wally, but his band, Wally World, and WalfredoReyesJr.com. So you definitely want to check out. And he mentioned on the last segment, he is playing tonight. Is that tonight, Wally? With David Garfield?
No, tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night at Bogey's.
The 19th.
And yeah, and you definitely want to get that checked out because you want to be a gaggle of great musicians. That's the place to do it. But I wanted to pick up one thing. You know, Wally, you said something, earlier in the last segment about the fact that we are getting older. You're 62. I'm 57, going to be 58 next week. And the fact is we are limited to changing things, shifting things, making things sound the same as it was before. It's harder at times what we used to do 20 years ago and so on. And Wally, and the industry knows Jackie's got MS, and it slows me up on occasions and so on. Wally, what I want you to write this down, and I'll send the link to you. My newest sponsor, and I got to tell you, I'm, for the lack of a horrible term calling, I'm honored beyond belief. That Jambox, JAMBOXX.com, Wally, it's a MIDI wind instrument that is played like an iwi or a harmonica, that enables our brothers and sisters who have been stricken by MS, who have become paraplegics due to accidents, ALS, anything that would hamper us playing with our hands and with our feet. When you thought that your lifelong goal of creating music to the day that your mics became silent earlier than you thought they were, this amazing American company called Jambox brought this instrument out. I had a great interview 2 weeks ago with Wyclef Jean. And Wyclef stopped me halfway during the introduction of Jambox, and he's very familiar with it. And I want you to be familiar with it, Wally, because, and especially being a one-man percussion show, it is an amazing instrument. In fact, in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be doing, I'm taking a song that I recorded with Michael Paulo on his new album, and it's a cover of Your Song by Elton John. And I'm going to pull out my percussion that I played acoustically, and I'm going to move it over to the wind instrument, the MIDI percussion sounds, and Wally, it's going to blow you out of the water because it's a instrument that mates up perfectly with Pro Tools, with a tablet, and with Logic. And for those days that MS kicks my ass on my right side, instead of feeling bad or sitting back in the studio and being frustrated, I can now unplug my acoustic instruments and pick up this amazing thing called Jambox. That's the size of it.
Wow, I got to get it.
Yeah, and I'll make sure I hook you up with
find out about it.
It is so amazing, Wally. It's going to actually bring tears to your eyes like it did for me and Cappy when we watched the videos of people who with ALS, people that are on ventilators that are playing music to this
Wow.
day. Yeah, and it
amazing.
I get so worked up right now talking about it. And Wally, your brother Jackie is now the international spokesperson, the ambassador for Jambox worldwide, and I'll fill you in more. I want you to be part of this consortium of great musicians that are being introduced to Jambox, and because it enables us. Now, you and I are both lucky that we can play continually, but again, like I said, on those days that MS kicks my ass, I'm going to kick MS's ass with a thing called Jambox. That's the new medication today.
All right.
Yeah, it's on the marketplace.
Well, congratulations.
So, thank you, brother. Thank you.
And
I will definitely
congratulate you for being the spokesperson, because you're a perfect person for this.
In fact, I want to bring on
amazing.
Florentino. Are you around right now, brother? Let me see if he's on. If he's not the CEO of our, he's actually under the weather today. But Cedric, if you can gather him up and just have him butt in on this, I want to talk to him more about this. But let's get back to until Florentino gets on the line. You talked about, I said to Wyclef, 2 weeks ago, now that you've accomplished everything. And he goes, whoa. Man, I'm still trying to accomplish. And so I want to lead into Wally. You have been blessed to play with the best, because you are the best, the maestro, whatever you want to call yourself that makes your humble self cringe. But the fact is, I want to know myself personally, with everybody that you've played with, Wally, who is it, dead or alive? If you can, rewind time or look into the future with that crystal ball that is sitting on your lap right now, who is your bucket list? Who do you want to play with? Who would you want to play with, and why?
Well, if I can make it happen, I will revive my grandfather, Walfredo, my dad's father, trumpet player, and some of my musical family. I would love to actually, when I listen to their records and all that, I wish that we could play together. Like my daughter and I will make music tomorrow together. And I would love to do that. There's so many great musicians, older and new great musicians. I said it before, I actually was in the Chicago. They asked me that same question in the Chicago program. I put Peter Gabriel, I put Sting, there's all the musicians that you love, Elton John, all the musicians that everybody loves out there. Of course, I would love to make music if I haven't yet. Right. But right now, it sounds a little selfish, but I have a lot of music inside and a lot of songs that I have to finish writing that I did already started writing, and they're in the can. And my goal is to go to the grave without no music inside. I want to go to the grave on zero, on empty. So there's a lot of music inside of me. Thank God to all these artists that are out there and all the influences, indirect and direct, that have filled my tank of music up. And I would love to actually record. And that is the most difficult thing, because just like I did this little jamming at the Baked Potato, and before that I did one of original compositions called just Wally World of world music. I got about 2 or 3 CDs in the can to fulfill before my time is up. And so while I'm with Chicago, I don't watch TV hardly. I don't own a television right now in my house, because when I open that door in the front entrance, I cannot be sitting down just watching anything for an hour if I don't accomplish anything. So if I read a book, record something, practice something, learn about a software, there's so much to learn and so much to do and so much to still, like Wyclef said, achieve. I still want to achieve so much that my schedule, the hardest part is to actually organize it so it doesn't clash into each other. Okay, today I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, eat dinner, then do 3 things at night. When I'm tired, I'm going to, and then of course take care of yourself. So, that's my goal, my future goal. And of course, continue to help Chicago, the band, fulfill their vision. Because that's my job. I can actually go in, I'm going to play drums and I'm going to do this and I want to play this beat tonight. It's not really up to me. I work for Chicago. I am not the leader. These guys allow me a lot of freedom, which is the beautiful thing. Sure. But still, I don't come into Chicago saying, well, Danny did this, Tris did this, so I'm going to do this. And no. You go in fulfilling the vision of who you are working for. And if they're happy, I'm happy. And that's with anybody I work for. But when I do my music and my CD, and then I do my thing. And that's what right now, my schedule is helping my kids try to fulfill their musical visions, helping Chicago trying to fulfill their musical visions, and fulfilling my musical vision. So those three right there, that's a lot of work.
And let's go back for a second here, because I'm obsessed, as I told you last night, with jamming at the Baked Potato, the great venue. 7 songs, 1 hour and 3 minutes of pure groove, Latin songs. Nothing can come between us. El Matador, Slipping into Darkness. Yes, Slipping into Darkness. The Sauce, Use Me. That the great Bill Withers tune. Me and Baby Brother, one of my greatest tunes. I used to cruise. Yes, I used to have a lowrider back in '78. And Since I've Been Loving You. What was the motivation, other than playing and stepping out of I don't want to say stepping out of one wheelhouse into the other, but what was your motivation to choose these songs? Was it all you that chose these songs, these firme songs, I would say, for the lack of a better thing of being a Chicano out of Los Angeles? What made you choose these staples that you put on this recording?
Well, that's a very good question. So I had my other CD, which was more complex music. Mm-hmm. And sometimes at the Baked Potato, bands come in to actually let it all out. They've been playing commercial music. But I realized that I love more than anything, mostly, better than just playing instrumentals. I love lyrics. I love songs. I started out wanting to be a musician because of songs. And of course, then came fusion, then came technique and chops and more very difficult things. But at the end of the day, you can actually grab more audience, including musicians, badass musicians, and simple people that just want to learn a hook and want to be moved emotionally through notes, harmonies, and lyric. So when this band, we started playing instrumental and difficult, then we needed to rehearse, and can we get together to rehearse this song and this and that. And one time I arrived in that little sound check before the Baked Potato and says, man, what can we do? Hey, let's do this song. Hey, let's try this song. Let's try this song. And the reaction from the people was fantastic. I go, you know what? Sure. Which is almost what I was going to call the CD. Why don't we play songs we love, songs people love? Sure. So actually, I had a lot more songs that were recorded, but these ones were the best ones that I could put on the CD. There are about 5 other ones that didn't go into the CD. Unfortunately, something crazy, and this is what you get. There was a lot of technical difficulty that day that we were going to record at the Baked Potato. Mm-hmm. And right before we started playing, our guitar player, lead singer that you're hearing right now on those tunes, received the news that his mom passed away. And he didn't tell me anything. So he played that whole night, holding it inside and letting it out through music. So when you hear Since I've Been Loving You, he really is playing the blues. I'm trying, crying the blues. Yeah. You go for it. I decided instead of taking it a loss, let's just go for these songs. And I mixed them with Johnny Silas Cranfield, which mixed my CD, the first one. Then he did an amazing job mixing. I mean, people are going, oh, my God, this is great. And
exactly.
Yeah, this guy right now, Johnny Silas, have gone to work for Laura Alge, the famous engineer, and he's done work for Pink. And, so many. Before I told him, I need your autograph now because you're going to get so famous, and then I'm not going to be able to hire you ever again. So so that's what it is. It's songs we love, simple songs that our people know, and we just did them our way.
We talk about being long in the tooth, older, 62 versus 58 coming up. Has the technology or today's technology changed what you do musically? Is it enhanced it? Has it made you have to reinvent the wheel? How has it affected you in the way of producing music, of writing music, of sitting down and playing music? Has it hurt you or been a benefit or a negative?
That's another great question. I have to say right now, today, April 18, that is both good and bad. And it has helped us it has helped us many, many different ways. For example, I got like a little percussion tutor app that is an amazing educational app called percussiontutor.com. I mean, it has all the rhythms. You can do so many things that I wish I would have had this when I was a kid. You can actually do things today that you can record amazing things right on stage. You go to Instagram and what they're doing, what people are doing is amazing with their phone, with the little camera, with their GoPro. At the same time, because now you can actually create so many things on GarageBand and so many libraries of grooves and all that. It has cut a lot of the drummers' jobs, because when I moved to LA in 1980, I have to say there was such a business. If you cannot get into the studios immediately, or you didn't get the AAA really great 5-star gig, there was a thing called demo musicians. Mm-hmm. And we were doing a demo for this company, a demo over here, and I was working, just doing demos. So then Jeff Percar and Carlos Vega could record the record. And, Carlos Vega would go, "Hey, man, that demo you did was really great." And go, "Oh, thank you, but you did the record." So there was an industry. Now that industry's gone, because the demo is GarageBand. It's a sequence that musicians put together. So it has cut work from people, but then it has enhanced many ways that we can actually compose and create, and actually, you can actually compose just like musicians used to program the beat of the drums and all that. Now I can actually make music and not even hire the other guys in the band. I can actually create something that has guitar and bass lines. There's sample libraries. You go to GarageBand and I can create a whole song. But of course, me personally, I love to have that action reaction from humans playing together. Of course. That's the ultimate for me.
And you talk about the fact of, the old versus the new. As I told you before we started the interview, I'm interviewing Hal Blaine next Wednesday. Hal Blaine, for those who don't or can crawl out from underneath that rock, Hal Blaine was will always be the quintessential studio cat who's recorded with everybody. The Beach Boys, Sonny and Cher, Frank Sinatra, Ronnie Spector, the list goes down the line. And they get a chance to sit down with this 89-year-old man and talk about my work with Brian Wilson today versus his work with Brian Wilson when Brian was still the fledgling young man out of Torrance, California. But I want to ask you a question, Wally, for being in the industry long enough, and raising your children in music. Let's say if Wally Reyes, if you're coming up in the industry in today's, the way it stands today, would it be harder, in your opinion, to break through? Is it easier to break through nowadays? How would it have changed the way you looked at music growing up?
Well, the passion has to be the same. The only thing, you have to have that passion that you want to go for it. You got to go for it no matter how many punches thrown at you.
Right.
But today, the difference is you do have to embrace that technology. Because today you have to be a little more, you have to wear a lot more hats, I would say. If I would start over again, like when I was a kid, I was working all the time playing percussion and then playing drums and doing a gig over here and doing a gig over there. Today, remember, a long time ago, there was the record company. So then you would want the record company to hear you. Right now, learn how to work that social media, learn how to work those technology, record yourself, record your music. Don't wait for nobody to call you. Remember the little beeper and I got to wait for a call. And no, don't you call. You call people and start working on that technology and recording and doing your video. And you are almost like a house. You have to build your own house, which is everything. The instrumentalist, the image, and everything that goes with it. Because a long time ago, the record companies did all that for us. So you would have to worry about playing your instrument.
That's it.
Or getting a call from the studio. Now you can do the studio in your living room for less expensive. You don't need a $10,000 camera to create your own video. So video yourself, compose your songs, and the example is right there on Instagram. There's so many great young musicians that I see that are doing it all themselves, and they're doing the right thing. So that's the difference. It's a little more hats to wear to achieve the point.
Yeah, man. And Wally, what would you tell a younger Wally about music and about life in general? What would you tell that person, that young Wally?
And versatility. That's what I would tell them. I mean, don't that this whole segregation of I'm a rap artist, I'm a rock musician, be a musician and embrace it all. And I always do this cuisine example, but all the big chefs on TV that are the badass cats that are making it, they are chef of cuisine. They're not just like, oh, I only know how to do this, or I only know how to do that. And okay, so you're very lucky if you make it big, like In-N-Out Burger or something like that. Okay, that's just burger. And they persisted since the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s. So, okay, now they're famous. But, embrace music because each style helps the other. And it helps you be a richer musician in your knowledge. And you can work more, because when I first came to LA, I was doing Persian gigs in Cabaret Tehran, and then working with Claire Fisher and doing a salsa gig at night, and then trying to get into the demo studio situation, then going out on the road with Ben Vereen or Marilyn McCoo. Those are completely different styles of music and everything. But when it came down for my car payment and my rent, it was covered. It was covered playing music. I didn't have to do anything else because I did a lot of different jobs in music. And then all those connections that you develop, personal connections, really do help you eventually. When people say, hey, do you have an agent or a manager? No, I just know a lot of people all around the world. And that has helped me get the job.
I'm curious to find out now, because I know, there's times that projects have been brought to me and I'm just not comfortable in my own shoes, or I'm not qualified to play it. As opposed to you, has anybody ever dropped any music in front of you, any style of music, or you've been put in the studio, or you've been hired because of your name, Walfredo? Have you ever been found or ever been put in a situation where you weren't comfortable playing that style of music, or does it not matter to you?
Oh, yeah, there's always challenges. But I have to say, up until now, believe it or not, one of the hardest music that I ever played was back in college, contemporary classical music, orchestral music that didn't make no sense. I would have to be reading, and it was a conductor with the strings, and it was a bar of 5 and a bar of 3/8 and 4/4 and do this. And I mean, that was one of the most difficult. After I conquered that, maybe Frank Zappa would be something very difficult to conquer. I never played the music of Frank Zappa, but I loved the challenge. So if you prepare for that moment, and hope it never has to happen, but you prepare for that moment, it may come and it might not come. But the main thing that I find today, because today everybody gives you MP3 little demos of stuff. Sure, of course. Is it has to feel good. Even if it is odd times or crazy music or orchestral music, it has to feel good. And your feel, if it is groove music, if it is dance music, make something for the dancers to dance. Yeah, man. You have to see what kind of music is it that I'm playing for. Am I playing for dancers? Am I playing something to impress? Is it something technical? That's the purpose of this piece. Sure. Because sometimes when the people are dancing in the dance floor, the groove is the most important thing that moves people. If you starting throwing out technical chops and stuff like that, the dancer will stop and go,
And you're going to lose the crowd.
oh, that guy's great. Yeah, that guy's great, but I can't dance to this stuff. So you have to really see who is it that you're working for? What is the purpose of what you're playing for? So that's always I ask myself that, and bring on the challenges. Yeah.
Wally, as we're winding down the last 2 minutes of this interview, and it's I've got to ask this question. In fact, it's a question. I think it's a beautiful question. As we're getting older and it's our time to leave this place called Earth, hell, whatever you want to call it, whatever we're living in right now, what's the one thing you would leave as advice? I mean, like, what's the one thing you would leave or legacy? Share with me in the last 2 minutes.
Well, that's a difficult one that, I think, well, with everything that we've been talking to, I love to play with, when I look at my resume, I mean, the older I get, it gets heavier and bigger, but, just the fact that I communicated through music with all these different people of all around the world and made music, conversations. We made people happy. We made people dance. It's just like we made people sweat and come to us and goes, oh my God, that was great. Through the language of music, and to make music with different people. And I've made music with people that don't speak the same language. They spoke a different language and I spoke a different language, and we had to have a translator. Then we made music and we made beautiful communication. And that is something that I didn't realize it until a few years ago. But man, that is really heavy to accomplish. And it's not like I've just been doing that with one band for a whole lifetime. I've done it with people from completely different sides of the globe. And I think that's an accomplishment. And I want to create more of it.
I agree,
and want to play with more people. Just keep the music alive, keep the music going, and peace through music, as you're saying, right?
That's it, brother. And everybody, please.
And you're a beautiful person, Jackie.
Thank you, brother. I love you.
A beautiful soul.
I was raised
glad
right.
To be here.
And I'm married to the right woman. They wouldn't have it any other way. So with everybody out there listening to this great interview, we'll go ahead and we'll post it. Wally, I'll send you the permanent link once it's up. Bogies tomorrow night in Westlake with David Garfield and band. Wally, Walfredo Reyes Jr.com. Please follow this man and go out and buy his recordings, man. They're amazing. Be infected like I have been. Wally, thank you so much, brother. Do me a favor, text me when you get back home. Let me know you're home safe in Las Vegas, and we'll talk again real soon.
Thank
Guys,
you.
Everybody, Jackie Bertoni, Jackie's Groove, brought to you by Talk Media. Connect to all things music. Peace to music, Wally. I love you, my brother. Talk to you.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Intertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.